Hey, Bomboy8 here with another Alchemy Stars guide video. This time around we're going to be talking about 6-star units in the game that I feel stand out in each element. And these could be considered my recommendation for units that, one, you can be excited about whenever they come up on an RRR banner, which are the rotating recruitment recommendation banners that change every week, as well as rerolls. I don't personally do rerolls in gacha games, but I know a lot of people do. And so these are the units that if they show up on one of your accounts while you're choosing which one to start, if you get one of these units, this is definitely an account worth considering. Alchemy Stars is still a very balanced game as far as the high rarity 6-star units, and so most of the units that you come across will be usable. These are just the ones that, for one reason or another, I think just give you that little bit extra and are something that if you don't have any goals at the moment are worth targeting when you get that opportunity. They're also ones that when you do get them, they are safe to just dump as many resources as you can into them. You will get value out of these units, I guarantee it. Before we start, if we're going to talk about standout 6-stars, we need to talk about the 6-star converters once again. Each of the elements has a 6-star local converter. These are Nikinas, Serial, Icy, and Granru. All of them are great. Just like I said before, with the 5-star video and those being essential units for your strategies, all of the 6-stars are just that much better because they convert 2 colors into the colors that you want, which can be very useful for setting up attacks around an enemy. They also all have their own little abilities that can kind of help a team out. Granru is known for having paralysis, which helps with CC when you can do that against an enemy. Serial has a nice multi-hit attack that can spread out against multiple targets, but also is really good at doing multiple procs against shields. Nikinas just gives a nice defensive buff. There's really not much more else to her. And Icy has a nice little heal that comes in handy and adds up and can keep your team alive when you need it. You will get one of these 4 units fairly early in the game. There is a beginner banner that gives you 10 rolls. Well, it gives you 20 rolls half price, so you get 20 for the cost of 10. And the 20th roll is guaranteed to be one of these 4 converters. If at all possible, you likely want to build your first strong team around this converter because the utility it will provide this team will be enormous when you're starting out. So now with the converters out of the way, we can move on to each element, and I can talk about the unit that I think really stands out in each element. We're going to start with Forest, and we're going to start with Hiro. Hiro, you might not immediately recognize as being an incredibly powerful unit because her stat line is kind of low compared to other 6-stars in the game. However, her kit adds so much extra damage to her that these smaller stats get multiplied to insane amounts. The first way that happens is with her equipment skill. The first hit every round will do extra damage and a hard-hitting splash damage around that tile, as well as buff your attack for the rest of that turn up to 20%. Additionally, it will reset every time you cross an enhanced tile, and so that means that Hiro alone brings so much value to enhanced tiles that having Hiro adds to other units such as Nikinas, Pact, Pasilo, Gabriel, Narxol, even Paloma becomes better once you have Hiro and once you have a lot invested in her, because anything that can make an enhanced tile is gonna make Hiro hit harder. She has the perfect combo range for this kind of boss killer unit where she does 2 cluster damage all tiles. Very, very useful active skill. It is a conversion skill that lets you pick any 2 tiles on the map, turn them to a green enhanced tiles, and do damage to the edge of the board in all 4 directions from both tiles. Just the damage isn't that big, but this extra flexibility for conversion means that you can pull off some insanely long combos, really easily access Aurora time, and get more enhanced procs off of her. Her breakthrough 3 gives you a preemptive, which makes this even more powerful, allowing you to set up with your preempt local converters as well as your preempt cross converters for huge opening turns. Breakthrough 6 is a little less interesting because it's just more damage on the active skill, and the active skill damage isn't as important. The only downside that I find for Hiro is that she can't be an off-color captain that efficiently because her active is going to make the tiles green, and so if she is the off-color captain for, let's say, a Thunder team, well, the other Thunder units aren't going to get any value out of her green tiles. She can make a good sub-DPS on a green team with a different off-color captain, but she herself does not make for a good off-color captain. Next, we're going to talk about our Thunder unit for this video, which is Michael.
私はミカエル。
Mikael is a great damage unit because each round and each chain combo she does and each active skill she does, she builds up a stack of her equipment passive. Then her normal attacks consume the stacks to deal percent HP damage, percent current HP damage to the enemy, which can do huge amounts of damage to bosses or just otherwise tanky enemies. In addition, her active skill does percent HP as well. And she even has a teleport on her active that does damage along the way, and has a breakthrough 3 that allows her to do a chain combo at the end of her active, doing more damage, gaining more stacks, and a breakthrough 6 which makes it preemptive. So both of her breakthroughs are great. This is a unit that you'll want to get. You'll want to get her breakthroughs. Just does insane damage, is core to a good Spire team. And is really awesome because she's good as a captain, because she's always getting her stacks and dealing the percent HP damage. But she's also good as a sub-captain because she can sit in the back of the team and slowly just each round or each time she's a chain combo off, build up her stacks. And then you can either switch her to captain or just have one big yellow turn where you dance around the enemy and just do tons of percent HP damage all in one go. Next we have Fire, where my recommendation is Sinsa. Sinsa is an amazing captain unit because he does diagonal normal attacks, which increases the normal attack combo chain that happens, increasing health for everyone else's attack multiplier. And also these diagonal attacks and his chain combo and his active all give this defense shred that gives up to 25% of his defense as a debuff to the enemy unit, allowing everyone else on the team, including him, to deal tons of extra damage. On top of this, he has an active skill which hits a huge area. However, the real damage is the damage he does up front. It scales with how close the enemy is to him. And so while he will hit far away units, he won't do much damage. This doesn't matter when you just want to proc maybe a shield or a defense reduction stack. And also this active skill comes with a potential little hop, which is not a lot, but because Fire is lacking in teleporters by so much, this little hop honestly can make a difference in some runs. Just getting that one step closer to the line that you need to start a chain combo or to even be able to hit the boss in the first place can be huge. He has a chain combo range that is not as good as someone like a Mikael or Hiro, but is still pretty good. So instead of doing the 2 cluster tile damage, he does radial damage to the edge of the board, which means that if you're just trying to focus on one large boss, he's going to hit less tiles. He's going to miss some tiles, and therefore he's going to hit less tiles. And so he'll do less total damage to bosses, but this does increase his potential for hitting enemies that are spread out in multi-enemy situations. So this makes him a little more flexible as far as when and where you can use him. He's really good when you're trying to fight multiple multi-tile enemies. Sinsa does an amazing job. He can get in more diagonal attacks. He can hit more stuff with his chain combo. He can reduce the defense by a lot, and the team does tons of damage. He has his breakthrough 3 is a preempt, which is alright. Sometimes I end up using it for the little hop or the extra bit of defense reduction. His breakthrough 6 is just more damage on his active, and while he has a lot of damage in his kit, this isn't really where I find it's kind of sometimes hard to set up his active. You kind of have to make a choice of the timing. A lot of times I'm trying to find myself, is it better to do it at the beginning, get the extra stack of defense shred, and hit multiple enemies, or is it better to try to do my chain combo, get the defense shred from the normal attacks, and then do his active skill into the enemy and get that extra defense reduced damage? Because of that, honestly, it being preempt doesn't matter as much as some other units, but it's still nice. You're not going to be upset if you get it. His breakthrough 6 is more damage, which is just fine. It's just okay. Does very good as a captain, because that means that he will always be attacking me for the rest of his team, and that means his defense reduction will have more value for the team. However, he can also work as a sub DPS if you need him to, and be phenomenal as well. Full disclosure, in case anyone is surprised that I chose Sinsa over the community favorite, which is Charon. I don't have Charon. And so I've had to use Sinsa a lot, and so I'm partial to him. I also haven't used Charon, so I don't have an educated opinion to compare the two. However, I have been told they are very comparable. If you think that Charon is a better recommendation than Sinsa, I think this is a very good point to bring up in the comments, and so we can start a discussion about the pros and cons to both. Last, we have water, which is in kind of a weird spot, because right now, water doesn't really have a standout unit. Keeping with the trend of best detonators, the recommendation would have to go to Sharona. She has a lot of stats. She has an equipment skill that lets her hit harder when she does her chain combo and her active. But her chain combo range isn't quite great for bosses or for multi-enemies, because it does to the edge of the board in 4 directions. It has an active that does a teleport, and like I said, gets buffed by her equipment as well. But it's on a 3-turn cooldown, which isn't too bad, but there's also already a lot of teleport in water, and so sometimes her teleport can feel a bit redundant. She doesn't get preempt until breakthrough 6. Her breakthrough 3 is just more damage on her chain combo, which is good, but it's just more damage. Don't get me wrong, she is good. And she is someone to be happy about, and she is someone who, if you need to round out a water team, is a good unit to target. But it's really hard for me to put her side by side with Hiro, Mikael, and Sinsa and say that she is on par. I feel like she is more representing the baseline in Alchemy Stars of just a good unit, whereas the other 3 mentioned so far are doing something to stand a little bit ahead of good. If I had to give a real recommendation of water, it would be Fleur. Might be kind of an upset pick, but I think Fleur is just an amazing sniper unit. For starters, he has splash damage on his chain combo, which is such a great way to make up some of that damage you miss out on being a sniper as opposed to a detonator on multi-tile enemies. He has an active skill that is frequently available. It's out of the box preemptive, does a good chunk of damage to a single target, and allows you to hit them an additional time after you do your chain combo. This allows you to set up interesting plays where you can do double hits with your chain combo on key units, or you can spread out your damage and do damage to key units that might be outside of your range. He does hit everyone, but sometimes they'll be closer enemies, so this allows you to hone in on one specific enemy that you want to hit. And in addition to that, it even has a self buff If for some reason you weren't able to use it last turn, maybe just the timing wasn't right, or you wanted to wait for some more damage multipliers from other abilities, it's really nice that it doesn't punish you for missing a turn with it, and instead, gives you a little bit of value back on that. Picking the right target sometimes can be difficult with Fleur. If you pick something too squishy, it might die before the other chain combo can hit. Additionally, if it has a shield, it will block the active skill damage and the debuff that allows it to be hit a second time, so do be careful of that. Both his breakthroughs are nice, but because his ability starts off as preempt, this is just more numbers. Breakthrough 3 just gives more numbers on his active, whereas Breakthrough 6 gives more numbers on his splash damage. This is nice, but not necessary. All of this is enhanced by his equipment, which does extra damage from all sources by Fleur. So this is his active, his chain combo, his normal attack. All of his damage is increased against targets that are below half health, and then increased again for enemies that are below 30%, allowing you to hit a good chunk harder once the enemies hit these breakpoints. A quick side note to add to this water section: if you're getting to the old seal and you're trying to choose your legendary Aurorian, and you don't really have much of a preference one way or the other yet, might I suggest considering Regal, because he is the best water detonator by far right now. Yes, he's not the most accessible because he's locked behind a good 3 months worth of questing content to do, but when you do get him, you will get a lot of use out of him, because right now water doesn't have a lot of better options to fill the niche that he fills very well. This isn't by any means a you should pick Regal kind of suggestion. 3 of the 4 legendary Aurorians are awesome units that you will use a lot. Frostfire is unfortunately a little undertuned. Kinda do recommend avoiding her until you collect the other 3 unless you really like her. This is more of just a, if you don't already have a preference, here's my suggestion kind of suggestion. And that's it. These are my recommendations for units to be on the lookout for, whether it be through RR banners or rerolls, or even another Aurorian selection box if we get one of those. Once again, I'm going to encourage people to go to the comments, and if you have any alternative suggestions, or even just comments you want to add to what I've already said in this video, please mention that in the comments so we can build a resource for the community to use. And until the next video, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.